Oh, I see. No, I didn't know anything about football.
No, that's why I said the Association of okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Vernon, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. How's things?
Fine.
Good. We went off to Venice.
Did you?
Very, very good. Going over together because if he had no kit to carry, I would pick him up.
Absolute joy. He came to Woolpit and did his talk. Festival, did his talk. And you know, Army 5 players. I'm only just across the road, the other side of the A45.
Yeah, great. Nice to see you. Keep him well. Good. We weren't there 3 years, but it felt like it.
The journey, ended in disaster with my car pumping out.
Oh, it was just taken. That's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine. You're looking well.
Well, we're open here. Working.
No work. Gardening and golf for me.
Fine about this, and also that I've been Burke.
Oh, that's nice.
But nothing ridiculous. Bucket cars, the only thing. There were some new ones.
Vibes?
Would have been anything like that.
My wife and I took over her mother's place. Climbing for roller Colin. Hello, Steve. Morning, Gary. How are you?
Gary.
Hello, nice to see you. Good to see you, mate.
Hop in.
Welcome.
Let me leave these.
Okay.
Stanley, this is Yvonne Rosen, who was one of the Academy. Yeah, actually, to avoid confusion.
I mean, the rhythm section was Alan Hawke or Alan Parker.
Well, I did, yeah.
5 Allens at the same
Yeah. I did one like that.
Well, I've done that. I had to do that in hospital. My second wife was even.
Look there.
Killed her husband.
He's not so bad in this.
Provocation. Although at the time she was cold blood. No, I mean, you worry about it.
Why?
Yeah, see you later.
Oh, and put my thing on the cake. Don't do it on
She's got a giggle.
Let's get the train together.
Too hard.
Gary!
Nice of you. Okay, I'm just going to keep an eye out for See you later.
It was fairly true. It's there.
Really, when you think of myself, that she's got her back, that's Doris. Doris. Yes. That was Eric.
Through Eric. You were there about 20 years. I know. That older. Oh, you saw him? Oh, yeah.
And Bob.
No, it wasn't.
He must be playing today, and he saw him with a suitcase.
Yes, yes.
From, yeah, it's about 2 or 3 overlap. You know, it's hard to remember actually. When you think back. Ian Hughes was in my year, Ray Lindquist, but he went. He's gone via Africa to. I don't know. Look, we've looked him up a couple of times in Germany. And now, as I say, he's gone to South Africa. So.
I'll have it as
It's great.
Just turn the corner.
Is he coming?
Yes.
Great.
We get out here, do we? Right, I'll manage.
Yes, righto.
Yeah.
You want one, do you?
Good. Thank you. Good.
I do. Now we,
Over to you, Nick.
Now, I can't remember our friends there.
Tony.
I know, of course it's Elizabeth.
yeah.
Best
You-
love and wishes.
Oh, Tony, here's Elizabeth. Here's Elizabeth.
And I'm just fortuitously home on holiday.
Yes,
yes,
yes, she became...
from,
Yes,
yeah,
and it is
Tony
Tony,
McFay.
of course, Tony McVeigh.
yeah,
My parents
yeah,
left
because I remember you, I know we met at York. That's right, and,
Lovely day. Oh, I've been trying to write to you in Portugal.
Gary!
The man himself.
I did it. Well, thank you. Now, in the street, I would have
You didn't pass on the street, you went straight to the
pieces that are familiar to me. Right.
Bob Docker could be one.
Nick Cole.
All right.
Mystical town.
All right. Yes.
Lewis, from our generation.
Yes, do you?
And I remember your mother and father. Yeah, now, because, yeah,
I was at the academy at the same time as
you were in the academy, and I remember your mother and father coming.
Yes. I think it was a Jeremy Heather. Heather Steedman.
That's right. Now, how are you?
Yes. I'll break your hand. Alan,
Thank you for ringing me.
Yeah, you have to speak way down. Tender, quite cool.
Good to see you.
Now,
Thanks a lot for your card.
now, is he with you or is he?
No, he's a competitor. Frank Reedy.
Good get now.
Fancy doing a PTO?
Frank Reedy, you're the one that quoted in literature.
That's it.
As I remember, one of your most Peter York.
Peter York, you're quite right.
And you said to put a date on the calendar Peter York is like pouring out into the It gets in the way of everything. Now, Frankie, did you retire somewhere down
I retired, but no, I'm retired.
But are you still playing? Yeah, yeah.
But I want to know, you want to do
But
another
didn't you
video?
go to live on one of the islands?
I stayed there 6 months with Bob Farmer.
Yeah. Now,
That stink used to come down 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
9 o'clock. He was I won't retire anybody was free.
You and Paul made
What about this gentleman, Dennis Clark? Not that one. He retired 20 years ago from Philadelphia. He was in the Blythe, Dennis.
What a lovely fun.
I'm sorry,
Did you not replace the recording?
The other thing is something which is mentally. Oh
Yeah, well, you know these young men, originating.
I wish Geraldo would have been here too.
I always remember when I was with him at St Andrews, and he was very sad that he hadn't got his contract renewed, and that we'd have to ambition in life is to get my name in red lights in London. I said, my ambition in life is to play in the recording in London. And I met him years after and he said, we both made it. He had in
High style, great expertise.
Just a little on that side, please. Just in a little that way, please. And one more, please, and it's the third person to let that follow me. What's that? That's lovely. Thank you.
With my I often ask people about luncheon. You can see where I'm sitting.
Thank you very much, that's lovely.
Anything else you see? Yeah, so.
Carry on our own. That's great. Thank you very much.
What do we help ourselves
Yes, please. Yes. Oh, yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, I'm handing his super. Those, please. Thank you, madam.
There's no such thing as this
Got us together for a drunken orgy and that is a very good word.
Oh, the guy in the north.
With great humility that I utilise your internationally renowned trademark to call for silence while we have the speeches. But don't worry, because it isn't going to be me. Good. But we do have some interesting people for you to listen to and who have some things to say to you, Jimmy, today. And the first person I'd like to call upon is David Cawthon.
Thank you, Steve. Jimmy, Joan, colleagues, friends. When I first arrived in London as a music student with little knowledge and even less ability, one of the few names I knew in British musical life was that of James Blades. Even then, however many years ago that is, it is no exaggeration to say that Jimmy Blades was a legend. And while I first heard of his name mentioned in broadcasts of the church operas by Benjamin Britten, Jimmy also had a considerable experience in many other fields of work, in orchestral work, chamber music, theatres, films, in addition to his school lectures and demonstrations. It was remarkable then that with this enormously busy schedule, Jimmy managed to fit in his teaching at the Royal Academy of Music, and it was a great privilege for me to study with him during my years there. I say study, that sounds rather academic and doesn't really reflect the nature of Jimmy's lessons. They're often more like cosy chats, during which a student would play an orchestral excerpt or a technical exercise by Saul Goodman or Maurice Goldenberg. Jimmy's praise would be lavish, of course, no matter how well or badly it had been executed, but he would then illustrate his points by playing the same passage with an astounding style and vivacity that would leave the student feeling rather inadequate, but in the nicest possible way. Sprinkled through the lessons would be little homilies or axioms to help us on our way. One in particular I recall was, earn while you learn and learn while you earn. The significance of that is still growing on me. Those who are not familiar with the teaching conditions that were the percussion department at the Royal Academy of Music in the 1960s and 70s may be surprised to learn that it comprised a single room, no bigger than a large cloakroom, in which were housed a snare drum, a small xylophone, and what I gather were two of the original pedal timpani imported from Germany by Sir Henry Wood. However, the room did boast the only lavatory accessible directly from the Duke's Hall stage. And I well remember a lesson interrupted more than once by a visiting Sir John Barbarolli to make use of our facilities. Nevertheless, despite or perhaps because of these cramped conditions, Jimmy's teaching flourished and brought with it much more than what was required of the course. There was a firm grounding in professional etiquette, how to accommodate conductors' requests, for example, how the young student should behave with professional colleagues, and even a knowledge of the workings of that inner mystery of the percussion world, porterage. But in addition, there was an almost indefinable dignity and wisdom that are very much Jimmy Blades' hallmarks. And if there are any past students who are here and hadn't had the chance to speak to Jimmy, please don't leave without having a chat. I know he'd love the chance to catch up on acquaintance. All Jimmy's students, I feel certain, have benefited greatly from their time with him. Many have gone on to considerable success in various branches of the profession, of course, and those of us who teach are passing on to our students the advantages of our experiences with him, his technical achievements, his knowledge of the repertoire, and a deep respect for the composers whose works we study. But there is more even than this. Our lessons with Jimmy were imbued with an approach that mirrored Jimmy's own attitude, where music and its performance are paramount. Not simply technique, not just presentation, though these were given due importance. It was a love of music and the sheer enjoyment of playing that Jimmy developed in his students. May I say, Jimmy, how fortunate it was for us, and what a privilege to have been taught by you. On behalf of all your students, may I wish you a very happy birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Delaney.
This is the hooligan bit of it.
I'm with you, Eric.
You can nod. You nodded at me enough times in the session world, so you said it all. I love that bit about the learn when you earn. Learn when you earn, that was good. That's just what I did, Jimmy. Unbeknown to you, maybe. Unbeknown to you, maybe, James Blades, as they're calling you now. Jimmy, you and I, Jimmy Blades. Used to turn up on these sessions. The first time I met Jimmy was at the end of 1946, 1947, when I joined the wonderful Giraldo Orchestra. And that, at the time, the great Bob Farnham was conducting the orchestra. What have I done? See, I'm just a drummer. I don't know whether to blame Steve, Eric, Joan, or I was looking forward to this occasion when I was told about it, and here we go. Anyway, in the Giraldo Orchestra, that was where we first met Jimmy, and as I say, at the time it was being conducted by the great Bob Farnham, who not only put me in my place, but then you came on the scene when there was the extra percussionist required, and you did likewise. But I was still learning. To watch your eyes and your hands was just wonderful, wonderful. And as far as the pupils are concerned, I didn't pay a penny for all that. That was marvellous. Sorry about that, Jim. And then the clever bastard that I am, I came along with 2 bass drums, which you and Eric both. Oh, the expression on your faces when I got that equipment set up was just marvellous. And again, you're helping us, just lovely. As far as your work in the studio, and that's where we know you from. Jimmy Blades in the studio, that's it. That was just marvellous. The man taught us everything, to arrive on time, to be smart, to be polite, keep your mouth shut. That was a good thing, keep your mouth shut. He hasn't done it today, but... never stop talking. But that's all part of the business, wonderful. He'd arrive, I'd be watching. You see him like with half of his equipment, he'd go and open the pad out, have a look, see what there was to play. And he'd get his little box out. Little tiny glockenspiel, little tiny xylophone, always little tiny things. I'm right, aren't I, Eric? Yeah. Antiquated things they were. All accompanied by a bloody duster. I've never seen him play without a duster. But what a necessity. See? And unbeknown in that's just what happened, that's just what made the man, the Prime Minister, the man that he is. All those little things meant so much to the session world, and, well, I don't know what else to say. I don't think I need to refer to my notes because, no, I've said enough, and I know damn well he's waiting to get home to do some practice. On the snare drum. Yeah, I know. Jimmy Blades, congratulations, many happy returns, and thank you. Just thank you, that's all I can say.
Right, and now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to hear from Norman Del Mar.
When Eric asked me to come and add a little contribution to Jimmy's 90th today, it's a great occasion, I wondered to myself if by any chance I would be your oldest friend here. I'm looking around and I'm beginning to think perhaps not, but jolly nearly, because do you know the first time I ever heard about you, which the first thing I did was to hear about you, was, I think it must have been 50 years ago today, isn't that awful? It must have been just about 50 years ago. Dennis Brain and I had been asked to go along to do a number of sessions for Walter Gurr in Maida Vale 2. It was always Maida Vale 2. We went along and did these funny sessions with Walter going tootsie pootsie and things, you remember? And in the middle of this, Alec Whittaker was the oboe, I remember, and he used to always go, da-da-dee-da-dum. Did you hear that? This went on at various times. Whenever Walter's attention was distracted, probably somebody like, the flute, Eddie Walker might have been, would go, diddle-diddle-dip. And he never missed a trick. Whatever it was do-do-dee-do-dee, pop-pop, dee-da-dee-da. And Dennis and I looked at each other and said, who on earth could that be and what's going on? Turned out, wasn't it that apparently, was it Louis Levy, somebody had said, play me some Oriental music. Is this right? And so Alec Whittaker went on his oboe, and Jimmy So Dennis and I were tickled pink by this. We came rallying around Jimmy and got to know him really quite well during those days. And this was a great introduction. Anyway, the years passed, and I suppose I gradually gave up the horn, or partly gave up the horn, and took up a certain amount of conducting and gave a concert. Who was at that concert? But Jimmy. Jimmy came, took the trouble to find out, because I didn't think of inviting him. Never thought that he would dream of coming. There was Jimmy at my first concert. That was the most touching thing I think I can remember. It was amazing that you took the trouble and you were such a friend that you wanted to take the trouble to come and be at my first concert. And then a little while later, I was doing L'après-midi. So Jimmy came along and said, I've got a present for you. I've made you a pair of antique cymbals. And that's only the first one. This is the one. Isn't that beautiful? Jimmy. Wonderful. Well, then in due course, the wretched Yorkshire Symphony Orchestra came to an end. And sadly, but nevertheless, with a little bit tongue-in-cheek, I tried, if I could, to see if I couldn't corner their tam-tam. Now, this is an extraordinary story, because a number of tam-tams were imported into this country in the early 30s. And I think this one must have gone adrift, because Maurice Miles found it in a junk shop in Leeds, believe it or not, where they bought it for 17 guineas. And they sold it to me for the same. So as soon as I got it home, I was on the phone, quick, sharp, to Jimmy. And I said, Jimmy, I've got a tam-tam. And Jimmy said, oh yes. And I said, no, Jimmy, I've really got a tam-tam. Yes, he said. He said, well, what's it like? So I said, well, it's got a dragon on it. Yeah. Oh, said Jimmy. How big is it? I said, it's 31 inches diameter. He said, are you at home? I said, yes, I'm at home. I'm coming round now. And he did. Do you remember, Joan, you came round and brought him round?
Yes.
And there they were on my doorstep, and we compared notes. And mine had a dragon, and Jimmy brought his own. Because, of course, as you all know, but I had only recently learnt that that monstrosity which the leopard-skinned monster hits on the screen is, of course, cardboard. And I found this out. And I also found out at the same time that who, in fact, made the noise but Jimmy. And on a tam-tam, the sister of my own, and presumably the brother of that one. Because that's also, I think, got a dragon on it, and that isn't yours, Jimmy, I'm told. So that's obviously yet another. Isn't it? It's yours. Mine's got a dragon on it, and Jimmy, we compared notes, we hit ours, woof, and he hit his, woof. Yours is the best I've ever heard, as it should be in view of everything. And it was deeper than mine. If you hit mine in the wrong spot, you can get a low E flat. But you shouldn't. You shouldn't really. Well, I'm thinking now of what you've done, which hasn't been referred to, but I think should be, and that is your work with Ben Britton. Because of course you joined the English Opera Group. You weren't, Jimmy, you weren't Ben's original timpanist, or percussionist. That was another, Eddie Wilson. Do you remember Eddie Wilson?
Eddie Wilson.
Yeah,
A lovely man. But as soon as Ben found out about Jimmy being in the offing, Jimmy came in quick sharp.
Wilson?
Yes.
Eddie, there were two Wilsons. There was a bassoon player.
That's right.
He was a bassoon player.
And then there was the percussion
player.
player.
A drummer.
Then there was a drummer, also Wilson.
What was his name? Not Fred. What was his Christian name?
What?
No, it wasn't.
Eddie Wilson.
Yes.
No, I'm wrong. Eddie was the bassoonist.
Yes, Eddie was the bassoonist.
Yeah.
Who was the drummer?
Bert.
Bert!
There we go.
That's right. That's right. Quite a character too. Also a character. You know, these percussion players, they're all characters.
That's right, with the famous.
That's right. That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ben took to Jimmy, as you can imagine, and learnt from him. You all been talking about Jimmy's pupils. I think Ben was your #1 pupil. And the things you taught him were enormous, including devices that Ben wanted but didn't know how to get, like your glissando on the tubular bells. I still remember you were teaching him that, and there it is, to this day.
I put the metal end on the bottom, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Marvellous. I remember I came up once to your house. I can't exactly remember what the occasion was, but it was a wonderful occasion. We came and saw your house, and the first thing I saw as I came through the door to the hall was this enormous notice, to the burglar. I'll never forget that. To the burglar, every one of these instruments here is known and noted and documented. You can't steal anything here without it being known and you caught. And Jimmy, such a friend you are. Such a friend you are. You gave us that wonderful musical box, which I've got to this day, and value so highly. Thank you again for that. And then he wrote his book. This enormous compendium. Well, we owe you for that. That was a great book, and I was so proud that you showed it to me, and we talked about all the things in it. It's a wonderful book, and I think you made a great achievement there. That's really something. So that's one more thing amongst all the many things. Well, I think the last time until today that we met was at what that rather absurd. We had a do at Sevenoaks under Jonathan Butcher. Does this name mean anything to you? Yeah. He's a conductor in an area and does a lot of work and gets together young orchestras and conductors and so on and works with them, all in the area around Maidstone, all that whole area, which he's a sort of king. And he got me to go down there and we did a sort of seminar. And in that seminar, we tried to think of things which would help the conductors to learn all the kinds of things which you don't get by doing just the Haydn symphonies and the Beethovens. A few odd things which Ben worked out in Albert Herring. Jimmy came down, played in Albert Herring for us. We did a whole act, as I remember, and Jimmy played it. And there we were together. That was a great occasion. I remember every minute of it. Thank you, Jimmy. You're really a doyen. You're a great fellow.
Yeah, Sevenoaks, that's right.
That's right.
With the when we did the snatching from the from the opera, the Britain,
From the Britain.
Albert Herring.
Albert Herring, that's right.
That's right. And you'd arranged all the kit out.
Well, we arranged all the kits and we hoped you liked it, and then we found the parts were all wrong. Some wretched percussion player had changed it all. So we had to put it back to what you did. Anyway, this is a proud moment. I'm proud to be your friend and to have been your friend for all these years.
And you queried the fact that I was out.
Can't anybody put a player right?
It's a true story. I wouldn't like to label anybody with it. But I feel absolutely certain that the last person that had played that percussion score had deliberately altered the number of bars reached.
To catch the conductor out. I bet it was.
Have you still got the big gong?
Yes, I've still got that gong. Don't make any mistake. I should have brought it. It's such a pity. I never thought that was a silly thing. I should have brought it. Yes, of course I've got it.
Happy days,
Yes. Anyway, congratulations, Jimmy. We give you all our warmth and our love.
Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
Jimmy.
I will stand up now. Well, thank you all. Yeah. May as many of you that wishes live until you are 90.
Now, this seems to be the right moment for a few thank yous. And I'd like to say a warm thank you to
Tony Wallace of Sabian, Mike Brooks-Price, Ivor Arbiter, and Guido Rudi for their contributions, which together have added so much to this occasion. Now, this album, Jimmy, will be filled with a photographic record of this celebration. And it's a joint gift from everyone here and many who are unable to be with us this afternoon.
You tell me.
We hope it will bring you much joy as you look through it in the future.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now,
that's a book for me.
Yes.
All the photos. Yes. Yes.
now, we do have another VIP here today, a voice familiar to many of us. She lives in South London. Jimmy's greatest collaborator, Joan.
Oh, no.
An artist in her own right, Joan has given Jimmy tremendous support over the years, and her caring extends beyond Jimmy to students, colleagues, and friends. Joan. This comes with all our love and affection.
Oh, how beautiful.
Not to be outdone by all of this, the Musicians' Union, which some of us know a bit about, they didn't want to be left out of this occasion either. So I'd now like to call upon Brian Blaine from the Union, who is, has something to say, and I believe to give to Jimmy from the Union.
Thanks very much, Stephen. I've been a bit of a fraud on this occasion. I'd apologise on behalf of Dennis Scarr, the General Secretary. He had such a good time in Glasgow last week at the TUC that he felt he had some real work to do this week. But this is the best depth thing I've ever done, and I feel it a real honour to be here on behalf of not just percussionists and friends, but on behalf of 40,000 musicians, most of whom will have heard of James, know about what he stands for. And well, I've never been personally involved with you, James. I remember hearing a series of broadcasts that you did on Radio 3 once I was driving the car, which was one of the luckiest things that ever happened to me. I found them absolutely fascinating. And then not long after that, our Oxford branch secretary had the temerity to write to him and say, would you come down and give us a lecture, talk? And because he is obviously such a wonderful, big-hearted person, he went out to the Oxford branch with his accompanist, I'm afraid I don't remember his name, to do this thing, and I went out to Oxford with Maurice Jennings, the London District Organiser, and that's the nearest I can claim to have been to James Blades until this day. But thank you very much for you and to all your percussion friends, and I mentioned Charles Fulbrook in particular because I know you're all going to vote for him again and get him on the EC. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not too sure. But it was Charlie's idea that the union should do this, and I don't think it would have needed any prompting anyway. I'm very proud to present this thing, which obviously the symbol is obvious when it comes out. It's wrapping, here it is. But I don't advise, Joan, that you hit it too often. Okay, thank you.
Didn't wish to be left out. And we have a special taped message now from Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, Tony.
Yes.
I'm so sorry I can't be there in person to celebrate this great day, but as you will have heard, I recently developed a hernia, which meant I had to go in and have an op and get sewn up. I only came out of hospital on Friday, and I'm in no condition to come out and celebrate with you personally. Added to which, my voice has been seriously affected and is no longer the noble organ it used to be. However, I thought it would be nice to celebrate this occasion in verse, and so I have written, especially for you, an ode to celebrate your 90th birthday. And here it is. When Jimmy's parents thought what names they'd call him, rightly they chose James. It has a fine, distinguished ring about it. And another thing, besides 2 kings, there was the saint, ensuring not the slightest taint of scandal or malicious slur could blight their son's nomenclature. The saintly name seemed not so fitting when, as a babe, he kept on hitting saucepans, cups, and kitchen table with all the might that he was able. "Oh, stop it, do," his mum would say, whene'er he beat upon his tray. She failed to realise that this imp's desire was just to play the timps, to clash the cymbals, beat the drums, better far than doing the sums. When Dad yelled, "Jim, what are you at?" the little lad went rat-a-tat. Thus, in due course, it came to pass, young Jimmy scorned the lure of brass. He cared for neither wind nor strings, but just continued hitting things. He never wished to play the fiddle, much preferring paradiddle. When on his kit of drums he rolled, his plugging skill was soon extolled by those who knew, and Jimmy's name began acquiring early fame. "We'll send for Blades," the fixers said, when other drummers dropped down dead. He, undisputed, won the crown, and special parts for him were written by famed composers such as Britten. To all new friends here, I say, you know who's percussion's numero uno. And now he's 90. Well, I never. I must say I didn't ever dream that one day I'd be writing this birthday ode. Why, how exciting. So, Jimmy dear, congratulations from us all, our salutations. To ignorant folk, a simple banger. We know you never dropped a clangor. If not a saint, you're sure a king. So let us now all loudly sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jimmy. Happy birthday to you.
You want me to cut it now? Hey, how do we start this?
No. Or Mr. No Centini.
Well,
I should think the professionals would help.
Jimmy!
Vinny?
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
There you are.
that a microphone is necessary. We'll be serious. Can you hear at the back? Yes. Yes, well. I will thank the all concerned in rotation. First, David, for your very kind remarks about myself. I remember the time when this young gentleman would not dare to call me Jimmy. And thank you, Eric. And thank you, Norman. If Tony Hopkins were here, I could thank him. I could also remind him of the fact that he phoned me on one occasion and he said, Jimmy, I have written the music for a film and I require a ship's bell to sound F. I said, that should be no problem. And I went to Beale's in Charing Cross Road, the Chandlers, where they sell all the merchandise for people that boat. In all, I would say there were about 110 church bells, or bells of ship's bells of every description. And I started to try to find the note F, and the crowd began to gather in Charing Cross Road. And believe me or not, they were obliged to send for the police to dismiss the crowd that had come to hear probably the famous campanologist in history. But I produced the bell for him, and I have had the good fortune to produce many sounds for many people. I have been playing percussion for exactly 70 years. With all due respect to the gentleman from the Musicians' Union, I feel that there's not one member of the Musicians' Union that could go as far back and quote the difference in conditions today as well as myself. We have in this splendid gathering many of my former students. I have had many. Now, I know that today it is a very competitive world. But I used to say to all my students, there is always room at the top, and there always will be room at the top. But I can go back to the day when you didn't have to be quite such a great player to obtain an engagement. When I first came to London, I played in a small cinema in Crouch End. At the end of the first evening, I walked out to go into the street to go to my diggings. They were then known as a double chat. It was a bed-sitting room with use of bathroom when available. A hand tapped me on the shoulder and a voice said, "Are you the drummer?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What are they paying you?" I says, £5.8. He said, "I'll give you £6 at Clapton Rink." That was the first night in London. I didn't go to Clapton Rink, but I mean to many, many other players. No one, I think, in the profession can claim to have seen such a tremendous advance in the standard of percussion playing as I have done. I remember the time now, and I speak to the young drum players, or all drum players, when the first thing I had to do at the Royal Academy, for example, was to teach a young man to play Mam-Me Dad-Dee and a Pak-Ra-Dee-Do. You know that goes left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right. You do it with your hands. Right, left, left. Now today, I've been informed that when they come for entry into any of the academies or colleges, that they start by playing the Paul Creston Concerto for Marimba, the drum part from Stravinsky's Soldier's Tale, and a few other trifles. And if I were there now, I'm afraid I would have to say, as I said when a young man came, and David will remember him coming to the academy, and his name is Simon Rattle. And he came to study conductorship and percussion playing. Now, that young man, when he played the percussion to me, he was a most astounding player already. And I said to myself, what the hell do I do with this young fella for 12 months? So I questioned him, and I found that he had a tremendous interest in modern music. Oh, I said then, I think we'll spend a year on modern music. So I got the worst piece of drum playing I could find in the way of modern percussion playing, and I gave it to him, and I said, now, get your teeth into that, and I will conduct, and you see if you can follow me. You see, so I He got by to a certain extent, so I said, now that's fine. Now you've come to learn conductorship as well as percussion playing. I'll play the percussion part and you can go like this. And when he was on, I think, one of the BBC programmes where you reply to questions, my name was mentioned, and he said, yes, Mr. Blaze, he's a wonderful chap, isn't he? Yes, well, of course. But I managed to get by. Now, I sometimes get frightened when I hear the standard of playing that we have today. But there's one thing that must not be forgotten. There are always, and have always been, virtuoso players. Could Beethoven have written the timpani part for the Ninth Symphony if he wasn't aware of that particular style of playing being played? Bach, who wrote for the timpani over 350 years ago, you read that all the timpanists of that period played out of tune. Now, if we accept Bach as one of the greatest musicians that were ever born, would a musician of the quality of Bach have tolerated kettle drums constantly out of tune? I feel that the very fact of these great players putting music down for these instruments proves to us that there have been the players. But out of 100 players 70 years ago and 100 players today, you will get a higher percentage of first-class players than at my time. Now, having seen all this, what can I say other than to wish all my students, they have already all of them blossomed, and wish all those that are studying today the same good fortune that I have had. One thing I firmly believe in, and that is that in life there is an element of luck. Now, in 1929, I walked into the Premier Drum Shop, which was then one room in Berwick Street, and the salesman, Eric Little, said to me, "Do you play the vibraphone?" I said, "Well, to some extent." Well, he said, "You're the first one that says that you could possibly play the vibraphone. They want a vibraphone player at the Piccadilly Hotel." I went to the Piccadilly Hotel and I received the job as drummer in the Piccadilly Hotel. 6 months afterwards, I walked into Hawks to purchase a pair of wire brushes, and the gentleman behind the counter said, "I've just had a chappie in here looking for a drummer for the Gaumont British Film Corporation. They are starting to make talkies." I said, "Where is he?" He said, "Round the corner in the club of which I was a member." I went. He said, "Start on Friday at the studio, take all you've got, pedal timps, xylophone, glockenspiel, God knows what." And I took them in. I was awake, mark you, though I hadn't been in bed more than 4 to 5 hours. But a very dignified gentleman walked in and he looked at me and he said, "I noticed that we have a virtuoso with us this morning." I said, "You'll be a better judge of that at the end of the session." If you are the conductor. I played the session and I went up to him and I said, "Are we going to be friends?" I did 27.5 years with him. Now, I may not have gone into Berwick Street shop, or I may not have gone into Boozy and Hawks. So there is the element of luck. But, as I said to every one of my pupils, when that element of luck appears, you've got to be prepared to play well enough to get what's asked or offered to you. Luck is no good when it comes to that. And believe me, those of you who have not played in an orchestra of repute, there's a tremendous feeling when that conductor lifts his baton and you wait for that downbeat. And believe me, there's a glow comes to you if a conductor comes in and he looks round the orchestra like that, and when he comes to you, he smiles. It is a wonderful feeling. Now, David, who has followed me, of course, with Benjamin Britten and the English Chamber Orchestra, he can give you all the stories about that. I will only give you one more story because I could go on forever. But I was called into Covent Garden on one occasion, a last-minute deputy. There had been a strike. Is Reg Rashley still with it? Yeah, Reg Rashley. Yeah, Reg, the Covent Garden. It was before Reg's time, actually, I think. But however, now the conductor was Rudolf Kempe, and the boy said to me, "Take the cymbals." Now, if there's a dangerous instrument to play in the orchestra, it's the cymbals. Because if you do give a mighty wallop in the wrong place, there's no inquest as to who did it. I've done it. And one very kind conductor said when I apologised to him, I said, I made a terrific blob there. He said, Jim, I hope you live long enough to make a lot more. However, they gave me the symbols, and I said to myself, well, it's either a yes or no. There is rather a loose saying in life, it's either something or bust. And I did really have a go for this right the way through, and I met the factotum, who Reg may remember as Maurice Smith, a week or so later, and he said, would you care to know what Kempe said about you? I said, I think I can bear it. He said, you may send the little man that played the cymbals any night that you wish. And I thought, well, coming from greatness like that, it is a wonderful thing. The things that don't please you are when things go wrong. And when things go wrong, then you become depressed. I came out of a rehearsal in Switzerland with a conductor, one of the darlings of the profession, Gates Ander, one of the first men to play the Mozart piano and conduct. And he said, James, you look very serious. I said, I have a rather nasty part in the second movement of the symphony I am not happy with. And he pulled out his watch. He said, it is now 9:30. We shall be playing that part of the symphony tomorrow evening at 8:30. That gives you 23 hours to get it right. It is a grand profession, and I am grateful to have seen so many years. During the last 3 or 4 years, I have had certain problems, health-wise, and it is by, I am a believer, the good Lord, the care of my wife, and the encouragement of people like Eric and Nigel, and particularly there, Steve, who have been constant visitors, who have encouraged me. And when this was mooted, I begged of them no. I said, no, I cannot say today that I would be able to come on the 9th of September to a gathering. They wouldn't hear of it. They have encouraged me. Now, I have been encouraged. I have lived until I am 90 years old. It is possible that I may live longer. On one occasion in Exeter, whilst playing with one of their major orchestras, I walked in the street for air, and a gypsy woman collared me and said that I would surely buy a piece of white heather from her. I said, now look here, my dear, I know you sort. You're worth $1 million. You put a pillow inside your blouse and you claim to the world that you're in the family way because you gather more half-a-crowns in the family way than you do not in the family way. I said, all right, I'll have a piece of white heather. And I bought the white heather, and she said, for another half-a-crown, I'll read your fortune.
Oh.
And I gave her my hand. He said, you've been married twice. I said, yes. He said, you have one son only from your first wife. I said, yes. She said, you are 65 years old. I said, yes. She said, give me £0.50, and I gave it to her. And she said, you'll live until you're 98. Now, I'd like to think that I will live to 98. I may, and perhaps as I remarked on one occasion to Sir Robert Mayer, who on his 99th birthday said to me, Jimmy, here and now I give you an invitation to my 100th birthday. And I said, Sir Robert, on one condition. And he said, what is that condition? I said, that you promise to come to my house. Now, you know, there is sometimes one particular section that is forgotten when it comes to giving thanks for what has been done. And I think we could give a word of praise to all those who have been responsible for all this that we've got here. Do you not feel that way? That they should be given thanks. To Eric, Nigel, and of course to Stephen, I just can't calculate the hours that they must have put in lacing all this together. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank them. I thank you all for coming. As I said earlier, if you desire to live until you're 90, then may your wish be granted. One thing I would like before everyone leaves, I have not been able to speak personally to every one of my former students. I would like, before we go, that each one of them shakes hands with me, because it is a wonderful feeling to look back and remember the day that they left the academy, and it ran through your mind, I wonder what is in store for them. I taught them to some extent, but I think one of the secrets, if I had a secret in my teaching, I have taught them always where they would go wrong, not so much always where they would be right. It is when you go wrong that you are discovered. So I do wish that I may say good luck to them before we leave. I only recognize one or two of them with difficulty because time has flown. One of my students came up to me 2 or 3 years ago and he introduced me to his grandson. And I thought, good God Almighty, the years are going. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, my good wishes and my thanks, and may God bless you all. Thank you. Proceedings if necessary.
Yes. Well, we have made this party, not Steve, Nick, Nigel, or myself. We have given Jimmy this party. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm and your support. Thank you.
Eric, great. Steve, marvellous.
Great. Oh,
you want us to help you get him out of there?
Oh, I know it's the overtime.
Thanks for all your work. As you said before, you know, you can't stop him, can you?
It'll soon be bedtime.
Oh,
lovely, great.
You know,
So he signed the book then?
He signed the book and everything, but you can't stop him talking. He's going still. It's wonderful.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Well, you see, he's used to overtime.
Yeah. Paying for it.
How long's the car been here now? Is it 10 hours or 15? Well, I don't know. I think, yeah, I think the driver's giving it 2 feet.